Good morning, everybody. It's another nice morning out there. A little bit of sunshine peeping through. It's more overcast and yeah, might get a little bit of snow later. Not much up this way, but I decided to start out the day by sitting in my barn. You may wonder, why am I doing that? Well, this is where I sat like the disciples may have sat, kind of huddled up in a quiet place away from everybody right after Jesus was crucified. The disciples were in hiding. They were afraid that maybe the Romans were coming for them next. And I thought, well, I'll go back out in the barn today because our gospel lesson coming up for this Sunday is just about that. What happened a week later? A week later, as those disciples were still huddled up in their quiet hiding place. The one thing that jumps out at us in this lesson, the main character that it seems to revolve around other than Jesus, is Thomas. And of course, this becomes known as the Doubting Thomas Sunday. Good old Thomas didn't believe the disciples when they said, hey, we saw him, because see, Thomas was out then. But that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about Thomas not being there. Why wasn't Thomas there when Jesus first appeared? What exactly was going on? Can we read between the lines? And now this is a whole week later, and the gospel writer John made a great effort to tell us that this time Thomas was there. So what's going on in this story? Sometimes it's a little bit dangerous to try to read between the lines, but I like to do it. I like to think, okay, why was Thomas gone to begin with? Did Thomas continue to leave? Was he the only one that left that room? Is he the one that volunteered to go out and get takeout for the rest of the disciples so they didn't have to risk their necks out there? I don't know. To me, that would signify a great deal of love on Thomas's part. Sure, he didn't believe those disciples that Jesus was alive, but he was willing to go out and do something great for them, meaning, I'll keep you guys fed. I'll help keep you alive. Is that what was going on? I wonder. I don't know about you and your household, especially if you have people who are kind of locked up with you during this time. But let's be honest. Have you gotten on each other's nerves just once or twice? Come on, be honest. I know our grandkids have gotten a little gnarly from time to time. Me? No, I'm the perfect... Oh, never mind, forget that. Yes, we all get on each other's cases from time to time, just because, hey, we don't like this. We want to be free. We want to be out there. We can't be. I wonder what went on with those disciples as they continued to be locked up in that room for a whole week. What was their attitude toward Thomas? Come on, Tom, you just got to believe us. We did see him. He stood right there, man. He's alive. I won't believe it unless I can put my hands in his wounds. I just won't believe it. I have to see it with my own eyes. Okay, did that argument continue all week? Or did the disciples just kind of back off? I like to think that they did. They had their say. Now they're just letting Thomas live in his uncertainty. Live with his doubts. Live with his struggle to come to the same level of belief that they had. Oh, and by the way, if those disciples said that they believed that Jesus was alive and tried to convince Thomas of that, what were they still doing hiding? Don't you think Jesus had something for them to do? That's a talk for another day. Right now, let's just focus on their relationship together, relationship between the disciples and Thomas. I think they just let Thomas be. They let Thomas be Thomas, and perhaps that's just the way Thomas was all his life. We don't know a whole lot about Thomas other than what we read in the Gospel of John. That's about it. He pops up a couple times, and each time he's pretty much someone who deals with facts. Well, here they are now. It's a week later, and the Gospel writer John says, hey, Thomas was with them, and this time he gets to see Jesus face to face. I really like the fact that when Jesus holds out his hands and says, here it is, stick your finger right in those nail holes, put it in my side where they thrust me with a spear. Go for it, Thomas. Thomas doesn't have to at that point. Thomas makes the confession, my Lord and my God. But what I really like is the fact that the other disciples let Thomas live with his doubts, with his anxieties, with his uncertainties, all that time until he was ready to come to a point of faith that Jesus was alive. Do we have that same sort of patience with those around us? Do we want to force the gospel on people? Do we want to make them believe the way we believe? Or do we allow them to struggle? Do we allow them to question? Do we allow them to take their time to come to a true and living and vibrant faith in our Lord? Something to think about as we approach this Doubting Thomas Sunday. Something to think about whenever we are out and about and once again congregating together and bumping up against people who don't have the same faith level, if you will, if there is such a thing, as we have. People who just don't believe the same way that we do about Jesus. But people for whom the living Lord still holds out his hands and says, see, touch. Don't be unbelieving, but believe. God's love works miracles in different ways in different lives. Well, I guess I better get up from my chair now, take care of all these critters. I have one chicken running around in here trying to entice a little food off me. God's blessings be with you. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.